Welcome to episode 4. It's our last episode, and we have one final target number 6. So as we've done all the way through, go down to the description section in this YouTube video for the link to get your coordinate for this target. It's an outbounder target, and as usual, I'm the outbounder. On this one, I want to encourage you to really let your mind open up. Be open to whatever comes in. Don't filter anything out, no matter how crazy it might seem. Be really open and write everything down on your transcript. And then when you're ready, unpause this video and keep watching to see your feedback. So now we have our final target, and this one yet again was another artificial type of location. And I think I was so curious if anyone would pick up on what I was seeing while I was there, and I think it was so far outside the boundaries of reality that they picked up more on the ambiance and the environment than on the dinosaurs. So this location is in Moab, Utah. So again, if anyone thought I was in Colorado, they were wrong. I was out of Colorado. Walk into this wonderful place, Moab Giants, and as you walk in, someone actually, I think it was either Angela or Ellie, wrote that there was like a place where you buy tickets, and there is the ticket teller in front. There is a cafeteria snack bar off to the side. There's even like a fake aquarium with glass where you would see ancient sea dinosaurs. I didn't go there, but I know that it was a place there. And then you walk forward more, and there's a central area with a couple of large tents and an old car, and also a covered area for children to play in the sand. And then you walk past that area, and then there's a pathway, and a lot of it was next to it was a large, tall fence. Not everywhere, but significant portions. And I know fences come up in a couple of transcripts. But then you walk and pass and visit with these different kinds of dinosaurs along the way, and it goes into a loop, and then you return back to the main entrance.
Yeah, this was a really cool location, and it does seem like the viewers were picking up on the location itself, but I would have expected them to pick up on at least that there were animals or statues, if not dinosaurs, actually. And I didn't really see any indication that they were picking up on those.
Yeah, maybe let's quickly look at each one because there's one where I thought the viewer thought they knew what they were seeing because they drew it, but they labeled it as something else. I just can't remember whose it is. So if we start with Angela.
This was I've been really sick this last week, and so it was very low energy for me. I don't know if you're factoring in those kinds of variables in your project, but at any rate, it was a little harder to get to the paper than normal. But once I was there, it felt pretty clean and immediate. And
a couple of these transcripts have curving, upward movement, downward movement. And I was staying at a campground that was actually high above in altitude. And I had to go on a long drive coming down a long and winding road through some canyons. And sometimes the road was very steep, but it was all descending very quickly. So if there's a sense of upward or downward movement, they could have been picking up on the drive I had to take to get there from where I was camping.
Yeah, Angela is definitely showing mountains, and I love her sketches of you as a little stick figure person going up and down the mountain. And then,
oh yeah, so that's the one, because you see above she has those rows of curves, and I thought those are the dinosaurs, the backs, the humps, and the tails of the dinosaurs. Maybe that it could be a definite stretch, but aside from the geography of the location, the only other thing that has this shape are the dinosaurs. And she draws me there wearing, she says, helmet or protective gear. And I was wearing my big floppy sun hat.
Oh.
It's kind of had a big wide brim. I'll insert a photo of it in the video. So that's sort of what I looked like with my big wide brimmed hat on that day.
Cool. Did you have boots on?
I had my hiking boots on. I can't remember if I was wearing pants or shorts. I may have been wearing shorts, but definitely the boots are significant and the wide brimmed hat is significant. And I see how she picked up on a car on the next page driving fast. Well, in the distance to one side, and I think it shows up in the video a couple of times, there's a highway there from I-70 down into the town of Moab. So there were cars traveling at a high speed on that highway off in the distance.
Well, and look at underneath that, she has a figure and doesn't exactly look like a person. I don't know. Could that be a dinosaur?
Maybe. I don't know. I think maybe the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from the original Ghostbusters movie.
Did you see any Stay Puft Marshmallow Man running around?
Not that I remember. But there's that, there were kids there, and there's that exciting quality of seeing dinosaurs. And
also in the feedback video, it was set up where the dinosaurs seemed to just kind of pop up the way, and you never know if the viewer is describing what they're experiencing at the location or what you are or what they're seeing in the feedback video.
Yeah, that's a great point. When I train people in associative remote viewing, I tell them, don't focus on what the picture represents, but just focus on the picture you will be shown either in a few hours or the next day. What is on that picture? So in this case, if they were focusing on what's on the video Sean's going to show me, then this stuff would be appearing there. Yeah. Who's next? Should we do Carl next?
Sure.
Felt like I was in some viewing tower, something what rose from ground level up to give a view of some vista type buildings, metropolis, park, rural, with lots of glass or perspex, and then it came back down. It was quite comforting, quite enjoyable, but a lot of people around. Thank you.
So on his page 2, he starts to get there a little bit with touristy attraction, crowds, famous views, scenic. It wasn't very crowded, but I was there first thing in the morning. But the wall, he draws what appears to be either a cityscape, but to me it reminds me of the wall that I would see sometimes walking on the path there.
Oh.
There weren't trees. There were some bushes, but no trees. But just that word touristy sort of nails it.
He says a viewpoint, watching, vista. Is there anything that would qualify as a vista?
Maybe just the sense that you could look off in the distance, and you see this in the video, and see the red rocks of the canyons and the steps and the buttes in the background. And definitely the big blue sky in the distance. So there's a lot of natural beauty to see in a vista type scene. But I wonder about, are these tall structures on that same page above that vista drawing, could it be, and maybe this is a stretch, you tell me, could it be that his mind did perceive the dinosaurs but did not know how to interpret it, and just picked up on, like, maybe there are these really big tall things there on location?
It's possible. Does it look like he went and tried to explore those more? I don't think that he did.
No, not really. And he got an AOL of Seattle, sort of like the Needle, that building in Seattle. So, which makes me think, he didn't go too far, because once you get an AOL, it's tough to unstick the mind from that label that the mind puts on a impression.
I don't know if we could really give him too much credit. What he does say, relaxed and taking in the scenery type feel with a presence of calm, although not isolated, and overall the feeling of a pleasant day out with blue sky and a few white clouds.
And that's definitely accurate. That very last paragraph, he got that we were outside, blue sky, few white clouds. That's it exactly.
Well, and when he says a quick feeling of Las Vegas or Seattle came through. Now, keep in mind, Carl is from the UK, and I don't know how much time he's spent in the US, but I would wonder, like, I was in Las Vegas recently, and I spent time out in the desert. So I would want to know, is he talking about the desert of Las Vegas, or is he talking about downtown Las Vegas? Because the two are very different. And so this would be a case of sometimes we really need more information from the viewer to get a sense of really what they're talking about. So overall, he says a tourist location, but that could include hundreds of thousands, if not millions of locations around the world. So yeah, this one was not one of his best, but I do like those couple paragraphs.
Yeah. You mentioned this would be a good time when it would have been great if we could have interviewed the viewer to get more out of them. Do you ever do sessions like that where you're actually with a viewer during the session and you're verbally getting impressions from them and diving deeper?
Yes, monitored sessions definitely can get really, really fantastic details, both because you can ask the viewer for more clarification, which a lot of times they're holding back on details. And then that would be a case too where you could direct them. If they say, oh, there's a tall man-made structure, you can say, well, why don't we go over to that structure and explore it some more, whereas they might just overlook it. So I would say some of the very best transcripts I've seen from myself, and actually other remote viewing teachers as well, their students, happen during monitored sessions. And in some cases, both the monitor and the viewer were blind. So it wasn't the case that the monitor or instructor could have been giving them hints because they didn't even know what the target was. But it is very useful. Should we move on?
Yeah. Coral?
Sure.
So with this target, I really enjoyed it. I hope I wasn't going off into woo land, because that was the kind of place I'd like to be. I'm interested to see the film. Bye.
So she's there a little bit in the first few descriptors. The land feels like a largish area the size of a park with a flat, sloped, grassy area containing biologicals fanned out. So that would be the tourists focused and absorbed in movement. So they're walking. They'd be focused on the things they're seeing. Then it says it feels like there are some man-mades on one end of this area, which feels more solid, permanent, cementy. And that's definitely akin to statues.
Yeah, she's getting structures that feel solid or permanent. We just could use more descriptions of those structures.
Yeah. She's right that it doesn't feel like a sporting event, and it is organized carefully and cleanly and orderly. But for me, it's still a little vague. I'd like a little more texture there.
In her type summary, she says it feels like there are some man-mades on one end of this area, which feel more solid, permanent, cementy, with comfortable open spaces inside and front. But she calls it a building, and then she says behind this building there are trees, pathways, wooden deck-like flooring. Was there anything like that there?
I don't think trees. There are pathways, no wooden deck-like flooring, and other structures that feel less solid or permanent. There were a couple like old school camping tents that you put cots inside. They're really big, like from the mining days. So those were there.
Should we look at Ellie's?
Yeah.
I started seeing something that looked like wrought iron first, and I drew that, and then it started to morph into a nature scene, people, shops, money, a teller window. That dominant theme, though, with these bars going through like this, almost like wrought iron gates. Got some clouds going on. And then I just, did a lot of AOLs over here. Was I seeing a food court? Was I seeing a zoo? Anyway, I'm gonna see what I saw.
Yeah, when I opened Ellie's, I thought, there's the fence, and she writes fence/gates there. And in the feedback video, you get to see a portion of the fence. So there were several fences that are similar to what she drew here. And she has a combination of man-made, outside, nature, but there is no flowing water near that location. But there's actually a dry river right next to it, a dry riverbed. Clearly, once maybe in the wet season, water runs through it, but while we were there, it was dry. So is that a thing that someone can pick up on? They would say river or water, but it's really just a dry riverbed.
They might get that impression, though as a judge, I would not want to give them credit for it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, it might really depend. I mean, if we're talking about something that really does often have water in it, but the water's not there right now, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think we need to be more I don't think she had teller window. Did you have to go through any kind of booth and pay?
Yep, there was a teller window right at the entrance where we paid.
Oh,
and there's the gift shop, so she's got shops and money there,
place to purchase tickets. Oh, she does have the word zoo circled.
Yeah. So I think it's so close, right? In this world, this artificial world this target. It's an artificial zoo.
Yeah, I would say we should give her a little credit there.
Because I think she's the only one who picked up anything associated with animals with the word zoo.
Yeah. All right, shall we look at Lena's?
Yeah.
If I had to put this in a summary, I would say that this area is an open place. It really feels like the air feels very fresh. There's signs telling you to go left or right, but also warning you about certain things. I definitely do see like the plants, so like leaves. I would say it's a daytime early. It feels like it's 8 a.m. 9 a.m. sort of thing, but it's very early, no later than the afternoon. I would say that this place feels very peaceful and somewhere that I would really like to go. I would also say 90% organic, 10% man-made. But yeah, thank you.
Lena also had a sense of cement, fresh, clean air, trees, grass, soil, pond, lake. Some of that would not be correct.
Under her AOLs on the bottom right-hand corner, she has trees. So there are no trees. There's grass, there is soil, and she wrote bridge. And there actually was a bridge. Remember the dry riverbed that I'm talking about? There's a railroad bridge that goes over that dry riverbed that you can see from this location.
She said, I love this area. I miss the peace. Yeah.
It is a very peaceful place. So that she wrote, I miss the peace. I really appreciated that because that's why I go to Moab once or twice a year for the peace. Being in the desert there is just transformative and so calming.
All right. I think that's all of them.
That's all of them. We did it. This is 6 weeks of targets, 6 weeks of collecting transcripts, and then you reviewed all of them carefully, and now we went over it together, and this is so great. I think the viewers overall did a great job. Do you think?
Yeah, they did. You know, they had some really great hits. Carl had that stellar session. Mm-hmm. There were some where either I wasn't quite sure if they were at the right location, or I did feel that they had moments of being there, but then they had a lot of incorrect information mixed in. And that is typical of sessions. I think this is representative of what you might have when you have a group of targets and you have a group of sessions, and there's going to be just, a couple that are just mind-blowing, and then some that have some really good hits and others mediocre, and then just some that are off. So this, I think, was a really good representation of what we might find from a range of remote viewers of different levels and levels of experience.
Yeah, and I hope any people out there watching this video who are interested in trying remote viewing or even tried it during this presentation learned from seeing the transcripts of the viewers, because we hear about remote viewing, but what does that really look like? Are they drawing super accurate pictures of? No, we see it's glimpses and pieces and clues and aspects of all five senses that are come down to paper and put it all together. Maybe you're on target.
Yeah, and you can really see a range of, sometimes people just had a couple pages. Sometimes people were more organized on their pages. Again, with Carl's, he really took the time to go in on different perspectives and really try to get a sense of the whole area and sketch it out. So it's pretty cool to see. Some of this is just stylistic choices, but some of this is a result of training and practice too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if people want to learn more, they can come to the International School of Clairvoyance and train with you. They can get to know the International Remote Viewing Association. They can come visit mindpossible.com. And there are many other instructors available out there who you could meet through IRVA and other organizations like the Applied Precognition Project, So it's something that's growing. People are learning more about it, and it's pretty easy to get into, I think, for anyone who's interested. There are different ways to do it. So hopefully
Yeah, and
people find.
some of these viewers have really studied with multiple instructors. I know Coral has, and Jill has, and then others have done other kinds of psychic modalities in addition to the remote viewing. So there's a real eclectic mixture here of people's backgrounds.
Yeah. Well, Deborah, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to review everyone's transcripts and to go over them with me and share your valuable knowledge based in many years of training and practice. And thanks for doing this with me. And for you, the viewer, I hope that you found this worthwhile, if not entertaining. And please, any way you can, try and get involved with remote viewing. It's open, it's available, and it's so much fun. So thank you for watching.